Welcome to the Maritime and Coastguard Agency Video News Podcast, bringing you the latest stories from around the UK's coasts. In this edition, the extraordinary Spinningdale rescue. Ged Yeates, an independent film producer from the Isle of Lewis in Scotland, has just produced a documentary for an international conference on emergency responses to major incidents in remote areas of Northern Europe. The programme included spectacular footage from the MCA archive of the Spinningdale rescue, which was successfully carried out by the MCA's Stornoway helicopter, Rescue 100, on February the 1st, 2008.
The islands of St Kilda, an ancient archipelago rising from the waters of the North Atlantic 40 miles west of the Outer Hebrides, and the scene in February 2008 of a daring rescue operation coordinated and carried out by the UK Coastguard.
The helicopter crew have reported gusting winds 70 knots plus.
The sea looked so turbulent. It was literally white water. It was everywhere. And in my mind was the warning from one of the other captains who'd been there, what a horrendous place it was.
There was quite a bit of movement on the vessel. It was a very dangerous rescue for the winchman to get lowered down and actually get the 14 crew off.
At one stage I had hold of the rails with my left arm, and one of the guys just got into a strop and I was holding that in my right, and he lost his footing. So I was literally just holding on to him and the strop, trying to stop him from sliding off.
In the early hours of the 1st of February 2008, Rescue 100, the Coastguard helicopter based in Stornoway, was scrambled to go to the aid of a fishing vessel, the Spinningdale. The aircraft crew were told the boat had stopped to carry out engine repairs, but the poor weather had driven her into Village Bay and onto rocks at the foot of St Kilda's towering cliffs.
The vessel was tucked right in beneath the cliff. The waves were washing over the back of the vessel, and it actually looked to us at that point that it was going to capsize. He was firing flares right tucked in the bay in St Kilda.
It was quite initially hard to pick the boat out. There's quite a few fishing boats taking shelter in that area. The original position put it about another mile to the east from there, which at the time we thought, well, that's not too bad. But being stuck underneath the cliffs, and it was also the crew were getting very, worried at this stage. They were saying, we need to get off now.
But even approaching the Spinningdale and then maintaining the hover was a supreme test of pilot Liz Forsyth's flying skills. It was pitch black and treacherous gusts of winds were reaching speeds of up to 70 knots or 80 miles per hour.
The wind was sort of changing direction quite frequently. So at one point the wind would be flying up the side of the cliff, giving us updrafting air, so we're pulling very low power in the hover, and then it would come round downdrafting, the horrible one, and we're pulling almost max power. But good on the aircraft, it coped with it. It was great, it was really good.
I will, and the rest of the boys.
Yeah, that's right.
In Stornoway, Coastguard watch officers who were monitoring and coordinating the rescue had their own problems too.
Communications on the night were difficult. She was wedged up against the cliffs. We had to relay through another fishing vessel that was in the area, and there was no English on board the vessel either. So we had to get a translator in to try and communicate with the master of the vessel.
After 2 hours hovering over the Spinningdale and as first light broke, the crew of Rescue 100 had a decision to make.
As the waves were washing, crashing over the deck, it was sort of moving in and out of the cliff, and it almost looked like it would, with a larger wave, actually turn over. And we knew there were 14 guys on there, and we knew that to get them off we had to put Phil down there.
We had to stay up quite high at the time, 130, 150 feet, literally because of the turbulence. I came alongside, got my feet on the side of the boat as it rocked to starboard and straight over the rails on the deck.
While Phil was on the deck, the waves were washing over it, so Larry, the wind shot, would be telling him there's a wave coming in, and he literally was grabbing hold of the rails. He had bruises all up his arms afterwards for hanging on.
We were getting washed over all the time, waves coming over the back and coming over the front, spraying. And it was also lifting the boat slightly and throwing it sort of starboard and then over to port 30 to 40 degrees. So at some stages you had to hang on to stop being washed off yourself. Larry, the winch up on the day, was letting me know whenever a big wave was coming. All I could hear was, "Hang on Phil, big wave."
The helicopter used in the St Kilda rescue is a Sikorsky 92, one of two Coastguard aircraft based at Stornoway on the Outer Hebrides and at Sombra on Shetland. They are a vital aid to the Coastguard officers and volunteers who watch over the sea and coastline of the north, northeast and northwest of Scotland. It's a huge area, 85,000 square miles of water from Shetland and Orkney around the northern tip of Cape Wrath, stretching beyond the Outer Hebrides and out to the Atlantic boundaries of the Faroes and Canada. It's a stretch of water that's carrying more and more shipping every year.
We have approximately 2.5 million tonnes of traffic coming through the Minches. That's reportable to this station. So they have to report when they're coming into the Minches and report when they're departing. Now these are mainly in ballast, and we have an unquantifiable number at this time of laden tankers going down the deep water route, carrying tens of thousands of tonnes of crude oil at any one particular time.
As a result, one of the many threats which coastguards at Lerwick and Stornoway have to be aware of is that of major pollution. When the Liberian-registered vessel the Brea ran aground off Shetland in January 1993, the resulting spillage of crude oil threatened the island's salmon farming industry, destroyed crops, and killed and harmed thousands of seabirds and other marine wildlife. Since then, ocean-going salvage tugs have been leased to the Coastguard, and new procedures are in place to try to ensure that this kind of incident never happens again.
We have two ETVs, one based in the Fair Isle Gap, and one here in the Minches in Stornoway, ETV being an emergency towing vessel. And their role is to look after, or to act as counter-pollution, if you like. We're trying to prevent a vessel from actually going ashore if it should break down within our waters. And we've seen from the Brea that had we been able to prevent the vessel from going ashore in the first place, we wouldn't have had so much pollution and all the many millions of pounds spent on cleanup.
But it's not just cargo ships and oil tankers that may require the assistance of the Coastguard.
We also have a huge number of passenger vessels, or cruise liners, that are now transiting these waters, coming to the Western Isles, coming to the Orkney Isles and Shetland. And each year in Shetland and Orkney we see about 70 cruise liners, and here in the Western Isles this year we've had 23 visiting cruise liners. Now they carry anything from a few hundred to maybe a couple of thousand passengers at any one time. So you can imagine that a large cruise liner coming ashore or having a distress within this area is a bit of a nightmare for us.
Given the vigilance of the Coastguard and other maritime and emergency authorities, such a nightmare is remote. But the constant readiness of the Coastguard helicopters is a reassuring presence should a rescue operation be necessary. Off St Kilda in February 2008, the 14 fishermen of the Spinningdale owe their lives to the determination and courage of the crew of Rescue 100 and the skill of the Coastguard watch officers who coordinated the operation from their headquarters in Stornoway.
We got them back to the airport and then brought them here to the Coastguard station, where we got them all a shower and give them a hot breakfast, which was provided by the Salvation Army. And in liaison with the council, the police, the Fishermen's Mission, as I say, we got them all showered, clothed, and then managed to get them accommodation for the night after they had spoken to the police.
It's the end of a rescue. You get a great feeling of satisfaction and elation that no one's lost their lives that day. And then it was just a transit, try and get back into Stornoway with the weather conditions.
He got them all off safely, then we got him up, and then we just had to get out of the bay.
Is that everybody off the boat? Yeah, everybody's off the boat. Are you all ready to go? I'm ready to go.
We got them out of there, and then we just had to contend with the snow showers on the way home.
Well done, guys.